I came here in 2009. I was just pretty broken and lost inside. I had been doing some counselling for maybe 10 months up until that point. Had no idea that I was suffering with addiction. For me, unlike many people with addiction, mine wasn't really manifesting on the outside. It was more internal stuff, what I was doing to myself, how I was feeling. I was single, I was working, I had my own home, I had a car. On the outside, everything looked perfect. I was very together, very professional, always top of my game. But like that, I would justify that sure, everybody has a bottle of wine with their dinner. At the weekends, I'm young, I'm single. I'm out partying, the party lifestyle. I never missed work because of my drinking. I was very apt at keeping up that persona, that image that I was okay. Very shortly after coming to the realization or acceptance that I had a problem with alcohol, I very soon realized that painkillers was something else. There was a point at which I was working shift and I'd have to be up early, and like that I had some issues medically that the doctor had prescribed medication for. And I realized very quickly that the painkillers kind of eased, if I was anxious, if I was feeling stressed, I would find myself, I suppose, nearly convincing myself that I needed to get a night's sleep to be able to get up for work in the morning. So if I take a couple of painkillers, I'll be fine. So when I looked at the overall, rather than kind of individually what I was doing or what I was using, there was a very different picture. Because I was using a few different things, it was nearly each one was in moderation. But when you put it together as a whole, I was absent constantly. They were definitely suicidal thoughts, and I definitely had no fear of death. I kind of had that understanding that, everybody worries about death, and I always looked like, I bet it's the best thing ever. It was like, yeah, this thing that everyone's so in fear of, like, can't wait for that to happen. So again, putting a different spin on something that was really, really dark, but I didn't correlate that to how I was using alcohol or painkillers, or, as it was revealed in here, also food. Food would have been my primary addiction, the first thing I picked up at a very young age. Some people had to come into my life who were in recovery, so I started getting education around addiction and alcoholism and what it was. And I could kind of identify a lot with people in addiction, but I didn't understand that I didn't get up in the morning and reach for a substance or reach for a bottle, and I never missed work, and everything in my life was going, like I was ticking all the boxes as to what I should have achieved. But I knew that there was something that linked me to, I get these people, I get how they're feeling and what they're doing, but I don't understand how I'm the same. There was that part that was telling me that I didn't really have a problem. So I felt so bad kind of coming to the realization that addiction and alcoholism is something that I'm struggling with. My biggest fear was, what if it's not? Because if this isn't what I'm suffering with, like, I have nowhere to turn. Obviously on assessment in the Rutland, they accepted me, and I went to, like, I was going for an interview. Will they let me in or will they not? Do I really have this? Do I not? And once you get into group and you start working their program and getting in touch with the 12 steps and looking at everything else that's in there, I could quickly identify where that was in every stage. I got a great foundation for what I needed to do going forward. A lot of self-awareness, a lot of growth, a lot of touching in with stuff that I had blocked out, the stuff that was causing me to escape or to numb. I got a great hope and a great support. I just think that the foundation that was given to me in here, it's something I couldn't have gotten, if I had just attended 12-step meetings outside. And I suppose I've no doubt that if I hadn't have come in here, my other addiction of food would have still been wreaking havoc. But coming into a place like this, it covered it all. Having to take that step out into the real world where you're back to living your daily life of having to go to work, having to deal with people, having to, address all those situations in life that you would have handled much differently prior to going in. It's scary, but I suppose like that, I do think that I had enough coming from here and the aftercare support and stuff. I suppose I spent my life ticking the boxes and trying to be what I thought the world expected of me, and just living a really, really sad existence, going through everything. And I didn't realise how much I hated myself. There wasn't anything about me that I liked, and I suppose in here was the first touch on, do you know what, you're actually not a bad person underneath it all. When you're in such a dark place, or when everything is becoming so hard and so confusing, I don't believe you can come out of that on your own without the assistance of someone who's not in the hole with you. But I am glad that even from the 10 years from I've come in here, that, you know, there is so much more on mental health, and that wanting to change and to show people that it is okay to reach out and say, I'm not okay. I suppose I have a passion to go on and work with children and adolescents, because I think that so much of what I struggled with could have been prevented, you know, if kids were given tools earlier in life, if these life skills were taught in class, to realise that it's normal stuff that everybody goes through. It's not to be brushed under the carpet like we were told years ago. If I hadn't have come in contact with the people that I came in contact with 10 years ago, or if I hadn't received the insight, or, you know, that little bit of information that indicated what's wrong might not be what I'm thinking about, I don't know how long more I would have been out there suffering for. So I'm willing to do this and put myself out there in the hope that somebody else might hear something that they can identify with and start to ask their own questions.